Hey guys, I want to welcome you back for another video, and today I'm going to be doing that little mini jewelry tutorial video that I had mentioned I was going to be getting into from that unboxing that I did for the Spring Bling jewelry kit. Again, this is available for purchase. Supplies may be limited, so if this is something that you're interested in picking up, I would not wait. I would go check out Dawn's website, and again, that is www.shinysilvertreasures.com to pick one up if you are interested. Everything is available independently, but if you want where it comes in the handy little kit where you're getting it all in one package, don't wait, go check it out and see what is still available for that. And also want to make a note that the only thing that I needed from Dawn's shop was the actual jewelry kit, because I do jewelry periodically for myself, for people, for craft shows, things like that. I pretty much had all the tools. The only thing I did not have was the tiger tail wire. I just had the standard stuff, so this is something that is new to me. But I'll get into the components here in just a second. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So I'm going to do, like I said, a quick run through of what's in the kit, the tools that you need, and all of the basic tools are available on Dawn's website for a really good price. She has a little beading board. She has a set of the jewelry tools that you need, and beading, all the findings and the wire and everything like that is all available on her website. I did also pick up this little media mat, and I really like it, especially for the beading, is that it's non-slip. This won't slip on it. And I like the extra little compartments because sometimes you don't have enough up in the little beading board depending on what you're doing. I do have a larger gray beading board, but because this is comparable to the one that is in her shop, I just want you to see one being used in progress so you get an idea. You don't really need a huge one depending on what you're doing. If you're making larger necklaces or you get into making larger necklaces, then maybe at that time it would be a good investment to get a larger beading board. But for today's purposes, this will be just fine. And like I said, it's on par with the one that is in Dawn's shop. It's also recommended to have some kind of a felt, or in this case, I just use this microfiber towel. Kind of works like a felt where it won't stop them from rolling, but they roll a lot less. It's a lot easier to pick them up off of a towel or a piece of felt. Keep that under your board in case the beads get away from you. Because, if you've done any beading, even a little bit, you know what I mean. And then I like this mat again because of the extra sections, and this actually kind of helps keep the towel from sliding all over as well. So, it's just, you'll get a feel for what setup works for you once you get farther along if you're learning jewelry for the first time. What tools you like best and that sort of thing. So, all right, just a quick recap for what is available in the Spring Bling kit. You get the oval-shaped jump rings. You get the lobster claw clasps. You get the clots or clamshells, depending on where you're from. Maybe your country calls them something else entirely. But the only two names that I know of are clot or claw. Or clamshell clasp. Sorry, not claw, clamshell. I believe you get 5 meters of the tiger tail. So that's a lot in there. Don't be fooled in thinking that it's small. That's a lot of wire that's in there. You get crimping beads, not tubes, beads. And you get, I think that, oh, that's what that is. Sorry, I forgot I had taken some out. And you also get this little bead tray. This is good for holding things. It could be the findings, the beads, whatever. It's really handy, and it makes it easier for putting it away. So, just a little quick demo for that. Because you can also use it to scoop up. If you pour your beads out, like if I had the beads here, I could use this to scoop them up and get them back in the package as well. So it's sort of like a handy tray slash scooper. And then it makes it easier just to get it put away. So just so you know, that's really good handy tool to have. And you don't need an overly large one. This is like a perfect size. Unless you're really using chunky beads and you need a larger one, this size will do you perfect. So that is the little bead tray. And then the beads themselves, you will get some combination of the different types of beads that you see here. I took a moment to go ahead and separate them all out. I separated out the faceted clear beads, the different colored of the standard round ones. There's a few transparent ones in there, but they're the smooth beads like these. There's some funky mother of pearl looking shell, like they look like shell beads here in the green. And then there's a variety of little ones. There's even some gold ones mixed in there, a little bit different colors. So your combination will not be exactly like this. It's whatever goes into the package when Dawn is filling them, that's what you'll get. But it should be some combination of these different kinds of beads. Okay, and for basic tools, besides the ones that I had mentioned with the beading board and the mat and so on, the basic tools you're definitely going to want to have is a flat-nosed plier, and you want the smooth. And through the editing, I know right now I'm trying to translate it, but I will edit to make sure that I zoom in to certain places so you can see what I mean. But these are smooth. You want the smooth. The serrated ones are used for something different, and that could be something that's more next level in terms of jewelry making. So, like I said, I'll probably repeat these a lot. Flat-nosed pliers, smooth. You want a pair of wire cutters, and you're going to want a set of round-nosed pliers. These are what you're going to use to make loops with your wire. So those are the 3 must-have tools for a basic startup. That's definitely something you're going to want to get. And like I said, all these things individually are available for purchase on Dawn's website. If she's out of stock, you can always email her and find out when it might be available again. She does have a newsletter that you can sign up for. But again, you can just go tag her at www.shinysilvertreasures.com, and you can contact her through that as well. So that is all the basic things that you're going to need to get started. You don't really need a whole lot. If you're not sure if you really are going to like it, you don't have a lot of money to put into it, you don't really have to spend out the nose to get your jewelry going. You know what I mean? So, okay, so now that we've done the quick run through, like I said, I'm just going to make like a short bracelet. So on the bead tray, once I get the length of wire that I want, because you're always going to want to go a little bit more than what the project demands. And the thing with the tiger wire, and again, this is going to be kind of new. I'm not used to working with this just yet. You have to be very careful with the tiger wire, because once it gets crimped, you cannot fix it. It will not unbend. You cannot straighten it out, and you will not be able to run it through your beads. So that's one thing that I have to stress. You have to be very careful in using the tiger wire from that aspect. It's always good to leave it when you are getting your length that you're going to work with. You're going to want to leave it looped like this. Do not let it unravel, because of the reason that if you try to re-loop it into this little roll, the odds of crimping it goes up. So you gotta handle it with a little bit of caution. So I'm going to see, and hopefully I don't make any big boo-boos. Although if I do make a big mistake, that's a good lesson in what I mean, right? I don't trust myself. That's a lot of the hesitancy here, because if there's something where they say don't do this, I'm about guaranteed to do just that. Exactly outside of what I was told not to do. Oh, see, they're very tricky little wires. So, like I said, more is going to do you good when you're working on a wire project. So let me just snip that off before more chaos reigns and this whole roll pops out of my fingers. All right, so I got my length, and I'm going to carefully see if I can tuck this back down in there without crimping it. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So there's the wire. This is the length I'm going to be working with. And again, I'm going to need to be sure that I'm not bending it or anything when I'm putting the beads on. So I'll just have to monitor my hand motions, because sometimes, you know, when you're talking and you're trying to explain something, you're not paying attention to, you know, what's going on with what you're working with. So so let me do this. Since this part already has the crinkle in the wire, I'm going to put the little crimping beads on before I do the clamshell. Just because I already know I'm going to have to cut that end of the wire off, so I might as well just start there. Typically, if you're working at open ends of the wire, you're going to want to typically put the cloth or the clamshell on first, then the beads, so then that way the clamshell, when you go to close it, will cover the crimping beads. But like I said, because I have that, and this is probably going to be a fairly long video, I will try to edit out, you know, as much of any dead air, you know, in between what I'm saying as I can to cut down on it. But just going in, if you've got coffee, grab some coffee, you know, make sure you got a minute to watch before you start. I mean, not that you can't always stop and start and come back, but sometimes in something like this, it's hard to come back to it. You know, you kind of lose the thread of what was going on and have to restart it. So I figured putting the larger beads in these smaller sections would be a lot easier than the little ones, because I think my brain would bleed in trying to dig out the beads I want, the small beads that I want out of these little tiny spaces. So, all right, let me do this again. And since it's already crimped, I'm just going to bend it more so that way hopefully it can't fly off next time. I'll make it stop. And I also need to be sure I am keeping my hands in frame. So I've got the monitor in front of me, but that's not always a guarantee that I'm keeping my hands where they need to be. They just tend to go south in the frame. I don't know why. If it's just a me thing, I don't know. So I'm going to try to be very vigilant on that. Okay, first bead on. Now for this one, I'm going to use the flat-nosed pliers, and I'm just going to compress it to make it stop on the wire. And then I'm going to carefully pick up the second crimping bead. Okay, so I've got the crimping beads in place, and just doing a little test to make sure, nope, they're not moving. So now what you're going to want to do, for lack of a better way to explain it, you're going to want to put the clot on the wire through the mouth. I think of it as a mouth, like those old greater than and less than symbols. We always referred to them when we were kids as like the alligator is eating this number or that number. So you're going to want to put it on in the direction where it looks like the clamshell is eating the crimp beads, because basically that's what it's going to do. And then you can use pliers, or you can gently squeeze. You can gently squeeze the clamshell until it closes. And again, I will make sure, this is also a mental note for myself while I'm filming this, to to make sure that this part is zoomed in on film. So yeah, I can go ahead and clip it here because this is just for demonstration purposes. So I'm just going to do a little nip there. Now, this way, the other purpose for, let me get my smaller, I had some smaller snips around here. You look good. These scissors are about trashed, so I don't mind chunking them, trimming off that excess wire. So now the other good thing for the clamshell is not only does it provide the loop that you can attach a jump ring to, but it also covers the crimping beads and makes the whole thing look tidier, more professional on the finished end. So let me just clip off that little extra bit of wire. I got it all. Okay. All right, like I said, this is probably going to be just a basic demonstration. So now we have that in place, and then what I'm going to want to do is set that down. Again, being careful not to crimp it. Now, the important thing of why we are using the oval jump rings in these projects is, one, it opens from the side as opposed to a round one that will, the gap will move on a round one. And a lot of times that's why what you put on that jump ring will fall off, because it's automatically going to land on that gap. Whereas a side or an oval jump ring, the gap is always going to be on the side. So unless, again, your necklace or your bracelet or whatever it is that you're using the jump rings for get yanked really bad, it is unlikely for the things that you've got attached to it to just fall off the way they can and will and do on a round jump ring. So, and you want to go side to side. You never want to pull it front to back. You want to carefully go side to side, because the more you have to go back and forth or reposition it, you're going to weaken that jump ring, and then that could make it snap when it might not otherwise. So I probably should have my zoom lenses. I'm still waiting. I need to get a new pair of glasses with my updated up-close prescription, but I haven't been able to get to the eyeglass, go to a place that sells eyeglasses. So yeah, let me take a second and go do that, because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. So like I said, you want to go side to side, not, don't pull them like this, because then it's so much harder to get them lined up. That was definitely a mistake I made quite a bit in the beginning, because I was only thinking of opening them up, not how I was opening them up, if that makes sense. So let me just get this lined up a little bit better. It's not quite back in alignment. So just a little bit. This might be a little bit off camera. I can't quite see the monitor at the moment. So, okay. So again, the point for the oval ones, these are really good to use, particularly if you're doing something like a necklace or a bracelet where you don't want anything falling off or falling apart, because when you stretch it out the way these would naturally hang with all the beading and stuff, it would automatically pull the opening of the jump ring to the side, not on the ends where stuff would be connected. So just again, a side note on that for why oval jump rings are the better choice for things like this. And also the importance of opening it from side to side, just being careful, because again, like I said, the more you open something and wiggle it back and forth or something like that, then you're putting stress and you could run into where you accidentally break the jump ring just from the wear and tear on it. So it's good. I mean, they've got good, it's a good metal, but again, you just are constantly weakening it every time you're opening and closing that jump ring. So again, just a little side note on that. So now we have our one end has been started, and I've got the clamshell in place covering up the crimping beads, and I used two. And what you're going to want to do is what I should have done in this case. Before I moved the clamshell into place, I should have lopped off the end of the wire, but that's okay. I'll get the redo when it comes time to putting the lobster claw clasp on the other end. I'll be sure to do it that way as well. Like I said, my brain is in tutorial mode, so again, I'm not really paying attention to what my hands are doing, so I'm trying to get that focus back on, so my hands and brain are working together. So now we're ready to go. You know what, let me do this first. This is where this gap in here, this little I don't know what the heck you would call that. This little trench that runs along the side here. This is where you can lay out your beads in the pattern that you want. So what I'm going to do is just take a minute here, and I may or may not cut this part out just for the sake of this is going to be a fairly lengthy video to begin with, and just get the beads laid out. I'm not sure yet. I'll kind of figure that out when I get to editing, but I really like these. So let me get a couple of those out. Let's see, I'll probably use about 4 before I really go off on a tangent for no apparent reason. What I am going to do is, I think I like the idea of using these guys on what would be the middle of my project. And where's another one? I think I like that one. So this way, using the beading board and the little trench that they have in there, you can just kind of play around with the pattern. It keeps it in place until you decide what you want for the final piece. And then you can just kind of move stuff back and forth as you take stuff in and out. You know, like if I changed my mind and I didn't want these little mother of pearl type beads, then all I got to do is scooch the other beads aside, take them out, and it keeps everything lined up the way that I want it. And I'm only moving and taking out the things that I changed my mind on, if that makes sense. So, all right. So that kind of gives me an idea of what we got. So I think I also like doing another one of these funky beads on the other side of that little pattern. So let me bring that down so I can see that it's a little more cohesive. And, you know, don't be worried. It's still going to line up right. Even if the beads are facing in a wonky direction, you're still getting the same pattern. So, so yeah, definitely don't worry about that. This will keep everything in place for you. So I think I like those more for the middle. Let me see if there's another interesting colored bead that's in here somewhere. Whoop. Yeah. Okay, I used one of those though. Ooh, maybe this dark, kind of darkish one. Do I have one like that? Not really. This one is mostly dark. So let me do that. How about this? Kind of keeping it a little similar. So I like using those kind of as a decorative spacer. Okay, so we got the basic pattern now. It's taking shape. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's go one more gold. No, we'll do a white one. Why not? I know I'm not really being particularly specific, but yeah, gotta get another color in there. Okay, so now I have the beads laid out the way that I want to. So what I'm going to do is start lifting the beads from the tray onto the wire. And again, with having this in place now, this end is basically finished. I don't have to do anything else on this end except I can start loading the beads onto the wire. So let me do that. And again, you can just use the wire as like a little needle. But again, I just really need to be careful that I don't accidentally crimp the wire down where the beads are going to sit. All right, so through the magic of movie editing, I am going to now finish off this bracelet. And what I need to do first, now that I have the last bead in place, let me get this actually out of the way now that I don't need the beading tray. I'm just going to set that off to the side. So now we are ready to close off this bracelet. And actually, before I do that, let me make sure that this would fit. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay. I thought, let me make sure that would fit my wrist, because like I said, it's kind of hard to gauge because I'm so freaking small. But it is a good width for my size. So, all right, so now we're going to kind of go backwards, and this time I'm going to put the clot on first. If I can see to thread it in there, would be great. You know, let me get my cheaters back on. I didn't really need it to see the, putting the beads on, but now I need to find where that hole is, and it's dark enough on the metal I can't see. Okay, so clot's going to go on first, because again, you want it to eat the crimping beads when it comes time to cover them, and then put your next jump ring on. So let me get some more. And this part, the finishing off is the part that can kind of be tricky. So it takes a little minute to kind of get a feel for it. So bear with me here. I got a little bit of fumble fingers since it's been a minute since I've done the beading. So let me get that on, and let me get the other one. So what I'll do is crimp the bottom one first where I need it to be. Let me move that so I don't flip that again. Oop, okay. And then let me grab my, where'd I put them? This is where you're going to want to use the flat nosed. So, okay. Now you don't want the beads to be pushed down too tight, especially in something that you would be taking on and off in the case like a bracelet, because pulling on it could end up putting stress on the wire and make it too tight, and then something could end up popping later. So you definitely want to be careful when you're finishing off the bracelet that you don't have too much tension on the wire. All right, so now that I've got that finished off and I trimmed off the excess, I'm going to just go ahead and carefully pinch this down. And again, if you have trouble with hand strength, you can carefully use the pliers to compress the clamshell. So now we are ready for the next jump ring. And what I am going to do, I just need one. I'm just going to do the second jump ring, and then to that I will attach the lobster claw. So actually, let me get my little zoom lenses back on so I can see what I'm doing to make sure that I'm lining it up correctly. So I was just the tiniest bit off last time, so let me make sure I'm going to do this. And again, without sticking my big fat head in the frame on the camera. So we are almost done with today's tutorial. And again, if you are interested in anything you have seen, either the kit or any of the supplies that go with it, please go visit Dawn's website. Everything is available for purchase. So let me get this set. Okay, yeah, my fingers do not, I think I'm trying to go in the wrong direction. I'm trying to go opposite of what my natural direction would be given I'm left-handed, so let me correct that and go the way I need to go. Okay, so I got that open. I don't want to crank on it too much. First, I want to put on the lobster claw, so I definitely need to be sure I got enough room to do that. Okay. Now I'm going to attach that lobster claw to the clamshell. And without forcing it. So, sorry, hold on one second. Trying to get this lined up. Okay, there we go. Because again, I really, sometimes I gotta try not to be so heavy-handed when I'm doing this stuff, so that way I don't accidentally crank too hard. Sometimes I'm not paying attention to how much force I'm putting on stuff. Did that come right off? Oh, it did. Yeah, okay. See, just like that. Fumbly fingers. Well, thankfully it's still open. I'll just pop another one on there. And let me get this closed up before I do anything else. So the irony is, with all that towel space and the mat, it of course went flying off the desk. So probably fell on the floor. I will get that when we are done. So let me close this up. And now just again to put the point that when this pulls, let me move that clasp. So now with that clasp, it's going to pull to the side. So unless you really crank on this bracelet, it's not going to come off the jump ring because the opening is now on the side. So let me just make sure. Sometimes I'll carefully use the flat inside of the pliers to make sure that I've got the ends of the jump ring lined up just in case. So that is the bracelet that we made with this little mini tutorial. And again, for today's project, I wanted to just use all of the beads, or use only the beads that were available in the set from the Spring Bling. So let's see if we can get this clasped. Let me go the other way. So that is the bracelet, and for my wrist, this is about perfect. Probably a little loose. I probably could have left off about 2 beads on each side, but it also kept it a little bit easier while I'm doing the demonstration to get it clipped on my wrist. So that was today's mini tutorial, also showcasing the items available in the Spring Bling collection. So let me get this tidied up. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. It was so much fun. This is going to be a nice, fun little piece that I can wear from time to time. And yeah, So hopefully you got some good tips, got a good place to start if you're new and you're considering getting into the jewelry making. It really is so much fun. So take care, you guys. Stay safe, and I will definitely be seeing you guys in the next video.